If you have ever been guilty of scouring the internet asking strangers how long it took them to get their first sale on Etsy, then this episode is for you. I know that when I first started Etsy, that was the biggest question on the top of mind because you're putting so much work into it on the back end and you're saying, when am I going to get a sale? Am I doing everything right? Am I doing everything wrong? Do people hate my products? Is this a waste of time? Is Etsy too saturated? How long until I see the fruits of my labor? And while I can't promise you that you're going to get an exact answer to that question, what I can promise you is that we will understand by the end of this episode why getting the first 100 sales on Etsy is so difficult and what we can do about it to make it happen. Hey, it's Rebecca Boland. Welcome back to the podcast, Etsy and Ecom with the Professional Mom, where I have been sharing my journey on Etsy and sharing business strategies, SEO tips, and other practical advice to help new Etsy sellers grow in their journey as well. I remember hitting publish on my first Etsy listing in 2020 and refreshing my shop every 5 minutes, obsessed with knowing exactly when I would get a first sale. It's a little bit of wanting instant gratification mixed with a little bit of needing affirmation, mixed with what the heck was I thinking, and maybe a little bit of vulnerability that you finally put yourself out there, even if you didn't even tell friends and family about your shop. So if you're feeling like this, you are absolutely not alone. You can continue to jump into Facebook groups or on Reddit or anywhere else you talk to folks online and ask them how long it takes to get a sale, but you're going to get so many different answers. And at the end of the day, I don't think any of them are going to make you too thrilled because we should always know we can't compare our journey with somebody else's. You don't know who's making what, who's selling what, whether they have a social media presence, how they got the sale, whether they lucked into it or they had strategy behind it. And no matter what they say, whether it's earlier than you or later than you, it's still not going to get you to where you need to be, which is to get to those first 100 sales. As I've been starting 2 print-on-demand shops from the ground up, I've relearned how hard it is to get those first 100 sales. And since I'm sitting in that passenger seat with you right now, I thought this would be the perfect time to focus on getting those first sales, why it matters, and why we shouldn't be so stressed about how long it takes to get one sale or the first 10 sales. Because in the long run, Etsy is a long-term game. If we are looking to truly build a business and scale a business, then in the grand scheme of things, a difference of 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months is not going to change the end goal. So why 100 sales? Well, that's just a number that I think you hear from a lot of well-known Etsy sellers and other experts who recognize that there's somewhere around this 100 sale milestone that seems to separate hobbyists from serious sellers and seems to help start the ball rolling faster for sales growth on Etsy once you get past that mile marker. But why is it so hard to get that first 100? Hang with me through this episode and you'll walk away knowing what those huge roadblocks are and, as always, a step-by-step game plan to push past them. Like I said, I opened a new print-on-demand shop at the end of 2024, missed the Christmas rush, and have been trying to dabble in it and really understand print-on-demand trends and put everything I'm seeing and talking to you about into practice to make sure that I can see firsthand what's working and what's not. But even knowing everything I know about Etsy and having 2 highly profitable digital Etsy stores, that does not mean that I am seeing instant success in these print-on-demand shops. There's something about this 100 sales that feels like we are trying to climb a mountain. And there's a few reasons to that. So let's talk about the reasons behind the scenes so that we understand what is really causing that huge hurdle. Number 1 is that visibility is the top struggle. Etsy's algorithm is going to favor established shops, so new sellers aren't getting as much organic traffic. Obviously, Etsy recognizes consistent sellers, longevity of a store. They trust that those sellers have brought back customers time and time again and have provided good customer service to their shoppers. And therefore, Etsy is always going to put similar listings with similar keywords from a well-established shop in front of a brand new shop. The second is that new shops lack social proof. No reviews, no bestsellers. Shoppers are going to hesitate to trust essentially a blank slate. Think about, for example, if you're a big Amazon shopper and you see the same similar product from a shop with 10,000 4.5 to 5-star reviews and a shop right next to it that doesn't have a single review. Or maybe it says it has 4 out of 5 stars, but only because one person left a review. 99.9% of us are going to lean towards purchasing from the known entity, the recognized entity, and the one with reviews that you can see other shoppers saying that they had a lot of success from. Especially the more scams we hear about online, the more people are concerned about not getting their money back or their product doesn't get delivered. So trying to get that storefront moving when you just don't have anything behind you to help convert the few eyeballs you do have into sales is just working against you. A third reason is that new sellers, for the most part, have not fully optimized listings. Even if you have taken a ton of courses, watched a ton of YouTube videos, listened to a ton of podcasts, it's very likely that your listings are not fully optimized. It takes a long time to really get into the groove of things, and a lot of new sellers are learning so many things at a time, plus creating their products, that it's almost impossible to completely nail SEO or photos or even pricing right off the bat. And until you are delivering your customers a full package of exactly what they want in the right price point and marketed and positioned the right way, it's going to be, again, another hurdle keeping you from successfully accelerating your sales. A fourth piece is that marketing can feel completely overwhelming to new sellers. I know that I, for one, have 5 Etsy shops and I barely market any of them because I just don't like social media much. So if you are trying your best to keep up with Instagram or pinning on Pinterest or staying on top of TikTok trends, maybe you're even trying to run ads, but are you doing it strategically? Are you just putting one piece of content here or there? Are you actually adding value for your customers? Are you trying to create a viral reel, but it doesn't actually have anything to do with your product? There's a lot behind marketing that, just like in listing optimization, we're busy learning so much and creating so much other content just to get our products up and optimized that having a true marketing strategy behind us is going to take a little more time and typically gets the can kicked down the road until we're in a position to have the focus for a true marketing plan. And then last but definitely not least is you take those 4 things, you roll them all together, and it just creates this huge mindset challenge. We ultimately end up with this mental block, this huge weight of discouragement that just sits on our shoulders. And most sellers take that and get completely overwhelmed, completely discouraged so early on that they consider it a failure and just give up on Etsy and close their shop. I can't tell you how many people I listen to or I watch interviews with on other podcasts and on YouTube where they are proud to say that they were able to turn it around after the first 9 to 12 months, got almost no sales. Or they were throwing spaghetti at the wall, but then they found a new strategy, took a new course, listened to a new coach, something that helped re-engage them reignite their creativity and gave them a path to follow, that suddenly their shops took off and they did have that story that so many of us strive for, where they could quit their job, quit their 9 to 5, be able to have that extra monthly income to pay for kids' extracurriculars. Whatever it is that you are doing the Etsy side hustle or full-time business for is absolutely possible. And if you keep your ear to the ground and look for those stories, they are all over the place. And most of them do not begin with, I hit the ground running, I made a bestseller in my first month, and now I'm a millionaire. So as you go into Etsy, recognize that to truly do well, you need to consider it a longer game. It doesn't have to be a 10 to 20 year plan, and who knows what Etsy will even look like at that time. But you do need to know that there's a lot of pieces to learn, and every day you have to put in some time and some effort to keep it moving, to keep improving, and to get to that point. So what is it actually going to take to get to your first 100 sales on Etsy? Let's look into strategies that we know data has proven time and time again will actually work. Number one is to first master Etsy SEO. Your listings need to be seen before anybody can possibly even have the chance to decide whether to buy from you, right? If nobody knows that your store exists or your product exists, they can't even think about whether it's the right fit for what they're shopping for. So first, we need to get visibility. We need to get views. We need to get eyeballs. And this is hard because of the first hurdle I talked about, where your shop is brand new. And unless you found a really creative micro niche and you already have a community around it that people have been looking for your exact product, then, which is fantastic for you, but unless you come into the game with that in the back of mind, it's going to be hard, and it's going to take some time for you to position yourself in enough of a niche that you are getting visibility over established shops. So to do this, you can do things like researching long tail keywords. So that would be a short tail keyword, might be shirt, or maybe you only sell women's shirts or teachers' shirts. But a longer version of that, you create a long tail keyword, which is going to be way more focused and have a lot less views per month. But if you have exactly what that buyer is looking for, and you are the only one selling a crossword puzzle inspired women's t-shirt for teachers, then that one person searching each month for that item is going to get their eyes on your shop, and that's going to help your conversion rate later down the line. A part of SEO, even if you are brand new to the Etsy game and haven't fully comprehended all of the bits and pieces to it, which is completely okay because there is a lot to learn. But when you see all 13 tags in that section as you are listing your product, there are a lot of other optional sections, a lot of things you can fill out, but you don't have to. The first thing you should absolutely do, or one of the top things you should absolutely do in every single listing, completely fill in all 13 tags before you hit publish. If you don't remember anything else, that is one of the biggest keys you should make sure you are doing. You can always go back and change them as you get deeper into the weeds, you get more well versed in SEO, search, and keyword finding. You can change those again at any time, but always make sure you are using every one of those. That is valuable, valuable, valuable Etsy real estate. And as I just referenced, you can go back and revisit those keywords, those tags at any time. You can change your titles, you can change your descriptions, and you can do that as often as you want or need to. Now, you do want to test and tweak things along the way. If you know things aren't being seen and aren't getting views, it's a good sign that your SEO is not working. But give it a little bit of time to move. There are different schools of thought here, but you don't want to change your listing information more often than maybe 30, 45 days to give Etsy a chance to actually pick up what you've changed, let it run through the algorithm, and see if the changes are helping impact anything, because that won't just happen overnight. Once you've accounted for SEO, then another thing that you can do is to make sure your listings are optimized to the best of your ability. Again, always going to be learning curves, always going to be ways to take better photos or to add more information. But in this case, you want to make sure that you at least are capitalizing on the views that you do get from your Etsy SEO and be able to draw shoppers in right away to click on your item to think about whether it's what they want to purchase. So in that first step, we're kind of thinking, okay, how do we show shoppers what we have? How do we even get in front of them? How do they know about our store? Now we're trying to say, okay, we have a shopper in my store. How do I get them to look at an item? Or let's say if they were at a craft fair, how do they walk over to your booth or maybe actually pick up an item and look at it? So in this case, you can do things as easy as changing up your photos. If your main photo doesn't stop somebody from scrolling right off the bat, especially if it's not exactly what they came to Etsy for, then it's automatically going to be a waste. You want to make sure that your photo, if it was sitting next to the other 15, 20, however many you can see before scrolling down, if it shows up on that page, it should be the first thing your eye is drawn to. So even if you're not a great photographer, things you can do there are simply trying to take photos in better lighting, maybe from a different angle, maybe more close up, using just bright, clean, professional looking images. You can also use mock-ups, which is a fantastic idea, and so many sellers have been using mock-ups to both make professional images and to streamline and more efficiently get listings posted. And I can talk a lot more about mock-ups in a future video if you're curious about learning more. However, if we're sticking more with just talking about how to optimize for now, you can also think about your pricing and look at your competitors, especially if you're in something like print on demand. Let's assume that we are looking at competitors who are also all using Printify for print on demand. What is their pricing like? Your pricing should be competitive with theirs. It should still be profitable. You shouldn't be losing money. And I never advise you to kind of race to the bottom. It's what we say in business. You don't want to continue to play an undercut strategy where you price $1 lower and then somebody else prices $1 lower. And next thing you know, you're getting sales, but you're actually losing money on every single sale. There may be a time and a place for that in business in the long term, but it is not what you want to be doing. And it honestly sets a precedent for your future pricing strategies. And it can position your product to sometimes buyers thinking that it might not be as high of quality as another one. So there is something to keeping a similar, if not $1 or $2 higher product price if you have all of the other right assets to support that alignment. Another way you can optimize your listings right now is to make sure your descriptions answer any questions that a customer would have before buying. Using the comparison I've been saying, this is along the lines of that shopper now picking up a coffee mug in your retail store, looking at it and wanting to know, is this dishwashable? Is this microwavable? How much does this hold? Does this come with a lid? Can this be personalized? There are a lot of common questions that you might overlook because they might be obvious to you, or you might have seen the answer to on the back end. For instance, you know that Printify's mugs are all dishwashable or whatever it may be. And there are going to be buyers that are not going to see that word and are going to say, never mind, moving on. I know firsthand that some of my family members would look at things and say, if this doesn't go in the dishwasher, then it doesn't need to be in our house. Obviously, not everybody is like that, but there are going to be people where certain traits matter, certain qualities matter. So make it as easy for them to see the most common answers they will have, and not only put those in the description, but a really great best practice that top Etsy sellers use is to put a slide or two in their photo section that answers those questions. So that is another top Etsy seller hack to capitalize on to optimize both your photo section and your description, because you're taking up this real estate, but you're making this easy, quick slideshow that says, yes, this can do X, Y, and Z. It is this size. No, unfortunately, no returns, but if it's broken, yes, I will work with you to fix your order. Whatever it is that you know would make a customer take a sigh of relief and say, oh, okay, great. That is what I was concerned about. I'm in. I'll make the purchase. So you're getting market visibility from SEO. You've optimized the listings to hopefully capitalize on the traffic that Etsy is bringing to you in their marketplace. And next, as a third step, you can also start to leverage external traffic. But we don't want to get too overwhelmed here, and we don't want to start spreading ourselves too thin. So take this with a grain of salt. But you can start to focus on one social media platform at a time, preferably one you already use, you're already comfortable with. If you're already a person who posts on TikTok or Instagram or scrolls through a few hours at a time, then see if there's a way that you can transition that into a more productive use of time and start trying to chat with maybe other Etsy sellers or start building relationships with influencers who might align with your product. Maybe somebody that you'd want to hopefully help you promote your products in the future, somebody that you'd be willing to give some samples of for free so that they can offer to their followers or give you reviews. This doesn't mean you have to go in and schedule months worth of content on every platform all across the line. It just means if you are in the place that you feel comfortable with the earlier steps and you want to be trying to grow your own traffic and drive your own traffic to your shop, you can focus on creating some high intent content that very clearly draws your ideal buyer and points them to your shop in a focused way. So something like best gifts for dog moms, as opposed to just posting a photo of the newest dog collar you made and leaving it out there. Maybe making it look like a roundup or a blog post that somebody might want to scroll through or share to their best dog mom friend so that the content is a little more shareable and a little more conversational. You can also run limited time offers for your first buyers to encourage urgency. You can say that you are having a grand opening shop and everything is 50% off until you hit 100 sales, or you can create a sale that is one day only and share that on social media. If you've noticed that even Etsy will do a countdown clock on the last 24 hours. So if you run a one-day sale and I were to visit your shop right now, it might show me, hurry, this offer ends in 17 hours and 39 minutes. And it will actually count down and help you create that sense of urgency in a buyer if you've gotten them into your shop. If you use these strategies and you bring people in and you are able to make a couple of those first sales, yes, it has been slow moving, it's been difficult, but you're seeing them trickle in, then you want to make sure that you get those first reviews as quickly as you can. Obviously, you don't want to harass your customers and bug them over and over again. And Etsy does have strict rules and guidelines about contacting customers after their transaction. But you can follow up maybe something along the lines of, hey, I got your order. You will receive a tracking number in the next 2 days. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions or concerns. And once you get a chance to see your product, or if you were thrilled with your service today, could you please take a minute to leave a quick review? You can send a message within Etsy to the customer while the transaction is still open and just leave these little pieces of, please leave a review. It really helps my shop grow. It's really important for small business. However you want to phrase it in your tone, your words, that can encourage somebody to take that 2 extra minutes to leave you a review. There is also another strategy I've seen used more so in the digital space than something like a physical print on demand type realm. But there you can offer low ticket, high value products to drive early volume. So when I started getting into the tumbler wrap PNG niche a few months back, I saw some competitors that were selling massive, massive bundles of tumbler wrap designs for dollars. I mean, we're talking 1,000, 5,000, whole shop 50,000 designs for just like stupid $2, whatever it is. And while that is not quite a realm that I would want to compete in, and that's not a strategy I would align with directly, there is something to be said about even not to that extent, but even something like having a $5 bundle with your 100 best designs. Or now you'll see, if you look right now, I guarantee you type in tumbler wrap PNG, and most of the tumbler wraps on that first page are going to have a little badge that says comes with 6 free designs, 9 free designs, 15 free designs. So that is a way that sellers are trying to stand out from the competition and provide extra value to make it an even easier buy now to the shopper. And as a seller, if you are trying to get money in your pocket quickly, that's probably not going to be the strategy that moves the needle. But what it will get is views, conversions, purchases, and that gives you the opportunity to also get more reviews, which is where you step into having that social proof that is so important down the line. So when shoppers come into your shop to look at the higher ticket items and are considering buying a 10, 20, 30, 40 plus dollar product, they can see that customers were happy in the past. And they don't necessarily correlate what the review is to how much the person spent. You see what I'm saying? They're not sitting there going, that review is for a $1 product, whatever, this isn't worth my time. All they see is, hey, this person loved the wrap. They said it was definitely high quality. They used it themselves. Their kid loved it, whatever else. And that gives them the social proof that they wanted to get comfortable to make their purchase. Last but not least, ultimately, we just have to keep going even when it is slow. Once you've taken action with all those other strategies, you can always go back and analyze your data. What is getting clicks but not converting? Even if it's just a few at a time. If you are seeing that something is getting clicks but you're still not getting those sales, look into what it is. Are you really answering all of the questions that a buyer would have? Is there something glaringly obvious that if you give it a once over, you go, oh, I never mentioned the size. I didn't tell them if this was an adult shirt or a child's shirt. I didn't tell them what colors they could buy. Is there something highly important that's preventing that from being a sale? And then hopefully by the time you've worked all the way through this cycle, you've at least had a new sale or some new data and can start the process all over again. And stay diligent, stay consistent, and be patient. That is something that is way easier for me to suggest to you than to do for myself. So I am definitely not a guru on patience. But again, I am in the exact same boat right now, and I am crawling through making my first 100 sales in print on demand. And we have to remember that those, for the most part, will take longer than the next 100. So it's slow and steady, but when you get there, just think how much easier it's going to be for the next 100, then the next, and the next, and thereafter. If you're listening to this as it comes out in early March, we're also at the beginning of hopefully a uplift in a sales season because other than Valentine's Day that just passed, we all know January and February are not huge shopping months for the most part. So if you have anything seasonal, spring refresh, summer games, matching family outfits, wedding attire, engagement gifts, all of these things are going to get bigger and bigger throughout the year. So if things are slow at the beginning of March, that's fine. It's just like how there's nothing in my garden growing right now. I planted a few seeds last week and then we had another frost snap, but I could either give up and not plant anything in the garden and therefore have nothing to show for it in August, September, or I can sit down, plant a few more things, plant 5 or 6 seeds each day, put 5 or 6 listings up each day on my Etsy shop, and hopefully by the end of fall, I'll have something to show for it. That's an analogy I came up with at the top of my head while looking at my dying plants on my deck, but I think it is the perfect combination of what we're talking about right now mixed with the seasons and the weather. Things are slow, but hopefully we just stay on course and that'll put us in a good place when things pick up. Look, those first 100 sales are tough for all of us, even when we know what we're doing or think we know or have a little bit of a clue, but they're achievable. We just have to make sure that we are covering our bases with SEO, strong, optimized listings, strategic marketing, and patience. It's not a failure if you haven't gotten there yet. You're not failing every time you don't make a sale. You're learning. And every top Etsy seller started exactly where you are now. We have more information than ever before at our fingertips. There are so many brilliant and kind souls out there sharing their journey and telling us what worked for them so that we can do it too. So I challenge you to audit your best performing listing today and just improve one thing. Now, that doesn't mean do an overhaul. Don't change all your tags if you have something that's really, really doing well. But if you have a performing listing or two that you know has been seen but hasn't been converting, see if you can add some more details to the description. See if you are actually using all 13 tags. Are you actually providing all photos? Are you showing all angles of the product? Could you add a video in that video slot? Just try to make one positive change in one listing. That's the challenge for today. And if you do that one thing and then you do want some more steps you can take, scroll down to the show notes where I will list a link to my free Building Your Etsy Empire ebook, which is a great resource that will help guide you through some of the biggest pieces of Etsy listing optimization. If you are curious about working one-on-one, you think you might need a little extra guidance or a personalized shop audit because you know that there's one specific facet still holding you back, feel free to reach out to me. You can DM me on Instagram or you can email me. I will put my contact links in the show notes below. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please do me a huge, huge favor and leave a quick review. Just like we ask our Etsy shoppers and buyers to leave a quick review to help us grow, the same is true for this podcast. So it would mean a lot to me to know that this made an impact on even just one of you. And please make sure you are subscribed as well to make sure you don't miss one of our upcoming weekly episodes helping you grow on Etsy, e-commerce, and beyond. Until next time, goodbye.